Welcome, this is China Notes. In this first episode, I'm going to tell you something basic about China. I will assume you know nothing about China except the word China. I hope you are not offended. Believe me, even if you are Chinese, you will still discover something new. China, full name People's Republic of China, is in East Asia, on the west coast of the Pacific Ocean. It covers about 1/15th of the Earth's land area. It is the third largest country in the world. Some sources say that the United States is a little larger because of a special method of calculation. China has 14 land neighbors and 6 maritime neighbors, making it the country with the largest number of the neighbors, the same as Russia. It also has very complicated relationships with its neighbors. China has been trying to resolve territorial and border issues, mostly through negotiations, but also with a few mini-wars. The China-India border and the South China Sea Islands are two of the most important issues unsolved. There are 3 special areas in China: Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. The first 2 of these belonged to Britain and Portugal about 100 years ago and returned in 1997 and 1999 respectively, remain capitalist for the time being. The situation in Taiwan is a bit complicated. Taiwan is now in a de facto independent state with its own government, the government of the Republic of China. It was a permanent member of the United Nations until 1971, but has since been replaced by the People's Republic of China. Both sides claim sovereignty over all Chinese territory. The government in Beijing is taking every effort to bring Taiwan back to the mainland like Hong Kong, and considers it one of the most important goals of the entire nation. China has a population of about 1.4 billion. Although China is a vast country, 2/3 of it is covered by plateaus, mountains, hills, and deserts. It has created a huge imbalance in population distribution. There was once a geographer who famously drew a line on a map at about 45 degrees, and although only 43% of the land was southeast of the line, it contained 94% of the population. China is a multi-ethnic country, with more than 90% of the population being Han and having as many as 55 other ethnic minorities. Each of the 4 most populous ethnic minorities has more than 10 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of Sweden. China practices regional ethnic autonomy in areas where minority populations gather. It includes 5 autonomous regions, including Xinjiang and Tibet, as well as widely distributed autonomous prefectures and autonomous counties. Some people may think that Tibet and Xinjiang should be independent because of ethnic and cultural differences. If you are one of them, I advise you to pay more attention to the issue of independence in Hawaii. Chinese people are proud of their long history. The most popular saying in China is that Chinese civilization has a history of 5,000 years. There is also growing evidence to support this claim. Around 3000 BC, the first sporadic and transient urban civilization appeared. The early feudal state arose in 1046 BC, and in 221 BC, the first centralized empire formed. In the long age of empire, the time of unification was getting longer and longer compared to the time of division, and the territory continued expanding. From the middle of the 19th century, China was challenged by Western civilization in all aspects. Finally, in 1912, the monarchy was forced to end, and the country was plunged into years of division and war. After the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, general unification and peace were achieved. China has 4 political institutions: the Communist Party Committee, the People's Congress, the Political Consultative Conference, and the People's Government. They work together to form China's political system. You can think of this system as a lantern. The Communist Party Committee is the flame, which is the nerve center of power in China. The Communist Party Committee Central Committee formulates national policies and guidelines, which are then implemented by party committees at all levels of government, state-owned enterprises, and institutions like schools and hospitals. Its job is to maintain the absolute leadership of the party. The People's Congress is the base, which is responsible for the final decisions on all major matters, including legislation, the election of important positions, and questioning government work. The grassroots People's Congress representatives are directly elected, and then they are elected upwards. Political Consultative Conference is the top, which has no real power. The role of this body is to collect a wide range of opinions for policy making. All the social groups are represented, including 8 democratic parties and religious groups. The People's Government is the glass cover, which is the administrative body. Power is carried out through it. Chinese politics is very different from that of the West. The principles of Western politics are separation and checks and balances, but China's 4 institutions are more collaborative. So it's normal for Westerners to be suspicious of Chinese politics, and no Chinese think China's political system is perfect. We all believe that there will be more reforms in the future. How this happens is one of the main challenges for China over the next decades. As a country with thousands of years of political tradition, the Western system is an important reference, but it's not the final goal. At present, China is the second largest economy in the world, accounting for more than 15% of global GDP. It contributes to the world's economic growth with more than 30%. It is called the factory of the world. This is because China has the largest educated population, stable and open policy conditions, and excellent infrastructure construction. Being the world's factory means importing large quantities of raw materials, energy, and semi-finished products, which are processed into products and exported to the world. A dozen years ago, China mainly exports toys and shirts. Now, 60% of China's exports are mechanical and electronic products such as mobile phones, microwave ovens, and cranes. As the factory of the world, China faces severe ecological challenges. Some might argue that China bears more responsibility for climate change, but as long as there is demand, there will be production, not in China, but elsewhere. In fact, the ultimate solution to climate change depends on the self-education of every consumer and technological progress. The good news is that China is currently the world's largest investor in new energy development, about half of the world's total investment. Chinese is the official language of China. There are 7 major dialect areas. Due to the inconvenient transportation in ancient times, even 2 very close cities are obviously different. Putonghua, also known as Mandarin, is the standard Chinese. After decades of popularization, 70% of Chinese people now have the ability to use Mandarin, and the rest can understand Mandarin even though they don't speak it well enough. So if you can speak Mandarin, you are basically in two-way communication with any educated Chinese. But I'm not sure you can understand what his or her parents are saying. Thanks for watching, and the next few episodes will cover some big issues about China.